I thought like my body temperature normally runs at like 97.9 and it went up to 98.6 the other day. So I started to get really worried.
Yep.
I was starting to get concerned just a little bit. I was like, my body doesn't normally run this hot, and it's like normal temperature for every human being.
Yes.
But for me, 98.6 is a little bit warm. So it was like, no, I don't want this. Welcome to the XFL Markcast. Just start off with a little conversation. Why not?
There you go. Sure. Paul's healthy. You feel good?
Yeah, I went and got a COVID test actually too yesterday. Sure. Test results just came back negative. We're good to go.
Love to hear it. I got so it's not transitioning well to the camera. I did try to iron my flag. I took it down. Michael Payne messaged me. He said, "Hey, dude," and I said, "I know it's been on it. Believe me." No, I said it's been on my to-do list for weeks. I ran it through we have like the steamer and the dryer, but now it doesn't look. I'm trying.
I mean, here's the thing. Like I always fault you for being your OCD self. I always say Reed is so OCD. It kind of drives me crazy. I'm not as OCD. There's a little things here and there that I get OCD about, but Reed is super OCD about
everything.
But I will give you a pass on something that happened this week.
Yeah. Is this the lead story? Now, I was just going to say, this is kind of the smorgasbord of episodes today. I got a lot of little stuff all over the place. So
I saw the Google Docs out of control.
It's out of control. All sorts of little stuff. So do you want the lead story? I have it on. Did you know that? I have it on.
You do have it on. Well, yeah. You wore it backwards for a reason. And do you want to show the people at home who are watching it on video? They can't really see it. Can you just take it off and actually push into the camera, take that hat and shove it into the lens there? And I want everyone that's watching this on YouTube to look at the way the XFL lines up with the white or the way it doesn't line up with the white. It's ridiculous. It's shoddy. It is terrible work. And so we have had this situation with our merchandise supplier for about this has been going on for 3 weeks?
A long time.
4 weeks? Long time. So Reed has been, it's getting really close there. You could see how bad that does not line up.
It's off center. Like they printed it. And here's the deal. I've been emailing them and we've redesigned the whole logo. We've redesigned, They said the lines, they go, this logo is too complex. Even though I have there's a million XFL, it's our own X. I know it's kind of whatever, but I go, it's a line and then another line, like it's all lines. It's not, and the things, so they said, well, it's too complicated. We were able to digitize it, but you really should rework your logo. I said, I reworked Biko in Croatia, reworked the entire logo so we could have it on the hat. I asked them, I said, do you have humans that put these hats into boxes that mail them out? And how did that ever pass quality control?
I completely agree with you. And normally, I say, Reed, you're being a little bit too picky on this one, but I completely co-sign your argument that I would never, ever, I wouldn't go to a swap meet and buy that hat. That's how bad that work is. And I mean, it's not that hard to get this right, folks. And I guess, we're trying to get these XFL Markcast hats out to you guys, but honestly, we got to get it right. And this is definitely we thought we had 2 steps forward, but now we're 3 steps back because it's horrendous. So we really want to get that out to you. Also, we'll talk about some other merch that we've got.
Lots of merch.
We got a new shirt up that Reed really likes. Reed complimented me on the shirt. It's better than his shirts that he designed. I will say that. And he did call me the T-shirt genius. Reed called me the T-shirt genius. And I will take that because Reed never compliments me. Ever, 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 ever.
We'll plug the shop right now. Plug the merch shop and talk about that shirt right now.
Okay. So on xflshow.com/merch, there is a new shirt in honor of Charmin Jones, who has apparently taken an issue with our little joke. Well, Reed's little joke with him. He blocked all of us on Twitter. You guys know the saga by now. So I decided to make a shirt that basically says, and I'm sure Reed will probably superimpose the shirt underneath here when you watch this on YouTube. Basically, it's a roll of toilet paper And what does it say? Don't be Charmin Jones or whatever.
Don't be a Charmin Jones.
Don't be a Charmin Jones.
Don't be a Charmin Jones. Don't be soft.
I worked that out in about an hour, maybe less than an hour.
It was great.
And got it online. And you can buy that now at xflshow.com/merch. Don't be a Charmin Jones. Don't be soft. SAWFT.
Couple other things. I want to figure out something to do with this hat down the road. We don't have to think about it today because this is like, I have all these like disaster hats now. I have at least 2 of them of these like printings. So maybe we could like do a giveaway at some point, a raffle, something about these hats because they're so bad. And, but this is like a one of a kind, will never be replicated.
I hope it will never be replicated. It might.
And while we're on the topic about merch, I want to go through our new ratings that we got this week. We have some new reviews that came in, and I want to talk about the mask thing too. So can we do that real quick before we move on? Okay. So we had some. I'm getting them up right now. I should have had it up. Sorry, it was in the Google Doc. So we had a bunch of reviews come in this week. Just a reminder: ratethispodcast.com/XFL. Or you could go to xflshow.com/review. And for all that is holy, if you are an Apple Podcast user, right now, just go on your phone, go to your podcast app, type in XFL Markcast, hit subscribe, leave a review. It doesn't cost you anything. I love all these other random podcasts that we get reviews like Podchaser and Podcast Addict. I appreciate CastBox, all the reviews we come in. I do appreciate them across the board, and thank you guys. But please, Apple Podcasts, if you have an iPhone, an iPad, any kind, if you have a Mac, just go XFL Markcast, 5-star review, takes you 2 seconds. We had 3 reviews come in this week. We had one from our good friend Party Paul Williams. He says,
Party Paul Williams.
He says, I miss the XFL. The XFL Markcast gives me hope that Dwayne Johnson will save us all. Thanks, Reed and Paul.
Hey, wait. I got to say something about Paul Williams has lost a tremendous amount of weight, right?
Yeah, Paul Williams looks great.
Dude.
Yeah, Paul Williams looks great.
Kudos, Paul. I mean, we loved you just the way you were, but it's good to see you're getting healthy. We definitely approve of that. So.
Party Paul looks great. We have one from our boy Moose, Midnight Moose. He's got he inspired the Charmin Jones shirt. He's got a shirt coming and a mask. Moose, I want to see photos with all your stuff when it comes. I'm serious. One of the best podcasts I've ever listened to. They really know their stuff about the XFL and they bring great guests on. I really enjoyed the Cole Boozer episode, but love them all. We also have one, Battlehawks fans, your boy, Lonely Virgil.
Lonely Virgil.
That's just a joke. His name's Virgil, but there's a wrestler, Virgil, that used to caddy for $1 Million Man, right? Ted DiBiase.
It wasn't caddy. It was just like, it was kind of racist.
Yeah,
if we're being
we don't
honest.
need to get into all that. But Virgil, and now he shows up at wrestling conventions, Lonely Virgil. He says the Markcast podcast is awesome. And then, so we had 4 this week. Van the Man, our number 1 fan. And Van, I owe you a mask too. So if you're listening to this, you just go ahead and text me. Fan talk with great guests. Reed and Paul are fans first, content producer second. I don't know if that's a dig or what.
That's not a dig. I think that's a very good compliment.
Okay. Very professional pattern between the hosts. Paul has the LA vibe in contrast to Reed with that Northwest laid back style. So that's Van the Man. And Van, you just send me a text and let me know where to send your mask. We'll see if he's listening to the episode.
Maybe not. Who knows?
But everyone else, your masks are in the mail. We appreciate everybody. So thank you guys all so much for doing it.
By the way, remember when we were in New Orleans and we're at the independent wrestling show and we looked in Virgil's direction for not even 3 seconds and he tried to get our attention. He's like, hey, what a hustler Virgil is.
Trying to sell like, that we talked last week, get those $5 photos, take my photo. Maybe Virgil was like $1 or $2. But so anyway, guys, leave a review. We appreciate it. We'll send you a mask. You got to wear one anyway. They're really cool. Black gator thing, white gator. We got the white mask. James Larson, he posted his photo on Twitter. We shared that. So send them out. Send out the mask. And this
isn't a political thing. It's like private businesses are requiring you to wear masks. Just do it. Yep. And then the sooner we all wear masks, the sooner we can get back to life.
And support us. Support your friends. You get it. I appreciate it. And we're done with all the plugs. So we got the crooked hat we're going to figure out. And then we've got the Rate the Podcast.
Yep. And we told some interesting stories in the plugs too. So it's not all plugs. It's definitely not all plugs. So let's start off the podcast with
It is pouring rain outside. I just heard. I thought it was like because that's
my
crazy.
friends were commenting. They're like, "What is the sonic booms going on outside our house?" And it's like apparently Seattle's having a thunderstorm. And for someone who lived there for 2 years, and you've lived there all your life, thunderstorms don't really ever happen in Seattle.
Anyway, if Rosie comes in, that'll be the apology. All right, so we got a lot of stuff. The potpourri today. Where do you want to start, Paul?
Well, I mean, we're talking about political things, and I guess we should start off with the big topic that happened on Vice. And I know you had your thoughts on the whole Vice situation.
This is the thing. So people are going crazy about, the kneeling thing, the political thing. Are players going to be allowed to kneel? Rock and Danny and The Rock were on Stick to Sports to talk about this. I had seen the clip. They posted like a little 1.5-minute clip. And I thought, all right, the episode's going to air. I'm an XFL podcast. I need to watch this thing and be apprised of it. My rant today is not political at all because it is all about, I literally couldn't watch the episode, Paul. I couldn't watch it. I know if you guys came here today, want insights about, I don't got them. I got nothing because I couldn't. Vice.com had the wrong episode. When you clicked on the thing to load it, it was like felons getting their lives back together, which is great, but that's just not the episode I'm trying to watch.
The one you wanted to watch.
You literally couldn't get, I was trying to do the Xfinity login because I did get YouTube TV last week. Vice is not on YouTube TV, so I used my mom's login on Xfinity. It would just keep reloading. I tried to do a free pass and the thing. So I don't know. I got no insights.
I had the same issue when Dark Side of the Ring came out with Vice TV, where it was like, I wanted to watch one episode. It kept giving me like the Macho Man Elizabeth episode. I'm like, oh, come on, man. What is this? This is nonsense. So Vice, fix your app, bros. Seriously, man.
You really need to get it together. So anyway, I know people, it's probably honestly better not to talk about it, because it's just people are getting really heated about the whole stick to the sports thing. I think you're right to yell at people to play sports. They have the same right to use their voice to not play sports. You know what I mean? I think we all have voices, but yeah, we can't even get into it today because literally Vice TV sucks. I tweeted at them with the verified account. I said, WTF is wrong with your website, and I heard nothing back. So maybe their social media isn't working too well either.
I just think the idea of shut up and dribble, as Laura Ingraham told LeBron James to shut up and dribble, she doesn't really take into account what LeBron James has done for Akron, Ohio, specifically, where he's put the I Promise school in. It's like these athletes should be encouraged to give back to their communities in the way they see fit. And that's my personal opinion. I'm not trying to be liberal or conservative here. I'm just saying, if we say, for example, when they bash Hollywood people or for example, when they bash The Rock for endorsing Joe Biden, they turn around and they like retweet James Woods and Dean Cain and Scott Baio, these conservative voices. Like, no. If you want all the entertainers to shut up and just entertain you, you have to do it across the board, conservative or liberal. Yeah. So without taking into account the things that LeBron James has done in Akron, the things Kobe did for women's basketball, these kinds of things you need to take into account before you say stuff like, oh, keep it off the playing field, because they're free to do whatever they want. Yep. And they have a reach that can bring awareness to items that maybe we're not paying attention to. So,
yeah. So anyway, but yeah, basically, long story short, Rock and Danny are going to let people kneel, are going to let people do whatever they want. I mean, I did glisten that from the 2-minute clip that they posted on, I think it was like Instagram or Twitter. So that is very important to The Rock. He has said that he feels as though if you disagree with somebody, or if somebody is hurting, you need to talk to them and listen to them and find that out. And so that is what they are trying to do. I don't think this is going to be some crazy political league. I just think they are really going to try to support the players the best they can. And that involves, money and health and wellness and all those, everything that you want. If you care about football, if you want the players to be able to play and be healthy and happy and all those things that we all do, that's all this is. And I really do think that. I don't think that they're bringing politics into it. I just think they're just letting it, supporting their players. So,
did you add things to the Google Doc while I was like chilling and not paying attention?
Not since we recorded.
Okay, cool. Just making sure, because I just see this Chad Ochocinco tweet that I didn't see before, and apparently he's putting in work at the gym. Friend of the show, Chad Ochocinco.
This is so. I need to play this, or do you want to play it? We just need the audio from this. So, Chad Ochocinco, fan of the show, he's been on the show, episode 2. Chad Ochocinco, I follow him now, because he's a fan of the show, and he leads a very interesting life. He is at the gym a lot, and he's always in like really formal attire, like a bowling shirt with like gym shorts. Today, he is in full khakis and like a tucked in shirt. And then he's got this church music playing in the background. Play. You can hear that? Hallelujah.
I can hear it. He's an interesting dude. So I love Ochocinco.
But anyway, I just had to share that he's at the gym putting in his time. He's got full khakis. He's got his mask. But the other day he was in like this formal bowling shirt, like all buttoned up, like lifting, like deadlifting like 300 pounds. I'm like,
the best part of this is the comments. Like someone says elite workout gear. And then L Daddy says, I'll only wear shorts a certain material and length to give Jim. Meanwhile, my man's is out here slanging them Cholo slim fits. The comments are just great on this stuff. It's just more banter.
Yeah, give Chad a follow. But yeah, I threw that in there this morning. I saw him doing that. So
okay, I'm glad I'm not hallucinating. I'm like, please don't add things to Google Doc after we've already started.
No, this was all this morning.
All right, let's get into some XFL talk since we've kind of like, well, when we talked about Danny and The Rock about the kneeling thing, but do you want to do an Oliver Luck update?
Yeah, so where is that? I've got that going.
So apparently, former commissioner asked a federal court to lift a stay on his lawsuit against Vince McMahon for the over $23 million. He argues that now the XFL sale has gone 60 days past. It should be able to restart. The lawsuit should be able to restart. Is it officially 60 days already that the sale has gone through? Because I thought August, the keys were turned over.
Yeah, but the sale was August. Yeah, because it's because it was like the end of August 20, whatever, and then September. It's almost November, Paul.
I know. I'm fully aware. It's Scorpio season's right around the corner. Trust me, I'm fully aware of it.
And I'm doing my Luck's coming for his money now. $26 million. He's coming. Yeah.
It's almost like he's power walking the ring, Vince McMahon style, coming for his money. It's great.
But it is. This is so. I think now. I know the first couple of weeks we did the Oliver Luck check-in, and then I think he was being really quiet because of everything. I think there's going to be some big news coming out from this now because I think Luck is done. The sale's done. Oliver Luck had said, let the sale go through. My beef is with McMahon. That's like when you have a tag team and they go, no, I don't want you. I'm coming for that guy. And he said, let the sale go through. Rock and Danny go buy this. I'm coming for Vince and I'm coming for my $26 million. And that is what is happening.
That's good. Yeah, I'm hoping that comes to a resolution really soon here.
This is like I saw that tweet and I thought I heard Jim Ross. Back on. That's all for Luck's music. He's coming.
Coming down the ring with a steel chair, of course, obviously.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I do think there's going to be big news about Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon coming out now soon. So, yeah.
I think Vince is going to settle this out of court. I don't think it's going to go too much longer, to be honest with you. There's just no point. There's literally no point in dragging this thing out because it's clear that Vince is probably culpable in the situation. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think he messed up. I think we've talked about this before, how poorly everything was handled. And I will never understand why he didn't just pay, not pay off Oliver Luck, but maybe just try to figure out some sort of settlement than just, you're fired. I mean, I know that Vince loves, you're fired. But
you can't be kayfabe when you're talking about hiring and firing your XFL commissioner. You can't do that.
For the tune of $100 million or whatever over 5 years. It just doesn't work that way. So.
We got Josh Davis from XFL News Hub coming up on the Markcast here in a few minutes, but we want to discuss about the XFL and the St. Louis Visitors and Convention and Visitors Commission.
It's a tough name.
I I don't know why I switched those two up. I was just trying to like make it shorter, but it didn't end up working out in my mind.
It's the CVC. I was like, what is the CVC? Oh, the convention and whatever thing. It's a really
Convention and Visitors Commission. Apparently, XFL's already in talks with them about leasing the dome out again.
Yeah, which is good. And Josh will talk about this. We've reported in the past on Josh.
Oh, keep going. Keep going.
Oh, you scared me.
Keep going. I got to tell a story. Keep going.
Okay. Josh, we've talked about Josh's articles, excuse me, in the past about him reporting about Raymond James Stadium and the lease and all that sort of stuff. And so it'll be interesting now that the St. Louis talks are on. They're talking about coming back to the Dome, that Josh will be on to talk about that stuff, because Josh does a lot of research for the News Hub about all the leases and all that stuff. So Paul has a story.
Oh, Lord, this is a good one, too.
Okay, got you. You scared me.
This has nothing to do with the XFL. This is great. I love going off of these tangents. If you listen to Wheelhouse, you'll know that I love to go off on tangents.
I thought someone was coming in the door. You looked over the computer on the video podcast.
I saw the byline on this article that you sent me from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and my face went just as red as my shirt. And that's why I put my finger up. I was like, note this. So Jim Thomas is the writer on this article. And I need to say this because this is a long time coming. Back when the Rams were in St. Louis, the Rams used to practice out here in LA. That's where they used to do their like warm-up camps and stuff like that.
Makes sense. Not.
And now they can't do that because the Cowboys already have the contract out here. Anyway, long story short, we went to Rams training camp before it was announced. I think it was like right when they were announced they're coming out here, or some kind of issue was going on where they're about to come back out to LA. And Jim Thomas was there. And Jim Thomas was one of the most unprofessional people I've ever dealt with in my life in this business.
You went out there for work. You didn't go out there to be like a Rams fan watching the practice.
No, I was there with a camera. Okay. And Reed, you know how short I am. I'm not tall. I'm 5'9".
You wear lifts.
I wear lifts. I've admitted to this. But this Jim Thomas guy, I was sitting there with a camera trying to get what's his name, the head coach, the old head coach of the Cowboys. No, I'm sorry, the old head coach of the Rams, Jeff Fisher. I was trying to get an angle on Jeff Fisher, and I said, "Sir, could you please move to the side just a little bit?" And he laid into me with a barrage of F words, and then stuck his head right in the middle of my lens. And I was trying to move around to get it, and I just couldn't get it. And afterward, he kept talking to me, and he said, "If you wanted to go out in the parking lot," I was like, "Dude, this isn't about that." So anyway.
I saw the byline. This Jim Thomas of the
this guy, this freaking guy right here.
Well, he covers blues hockey for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. So
it's him. I remember his name. I looked him up and I went at him on Twitter afterward. Like, I don't let go of grudges. Reed knows this. I still don't like this guy because I just think that's really unprofessional. It takes you like you are a newspaper writer. You don't need to be in front of a camera lens. We need video. You do not. You did not have your iPhone up. You had your pen and paper like an old school reporter, which I
it's great. Sure.
Give you props for doing it old school, but don't stick your head in front of the lens. Sorry. Jim Thomas, not a fan.
It's like, we used to do reports, and you'd have your video camera, and the newspaper person would stand 2 inches away from the person you're trying to interview and like hold their microphone. You're like, can you please just stand back? Can you
please? Like, your medium doesn't require as much space as mine. And I'm not trying to say I'm more important than you, but in this case, like, I need more space than you do to the shot on whoever you were interviewing. And I'm sorry, I'm 5'9". I can't help that.
You were so upset you broke Zoom there. You glitched out for a minute. Audio and video podcast listeners will notice that Paul broke Zoom for a second. That was crazy.
I broke Zoom because I was so angry at Jim Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm not angry. Well, I'm probably still a little angry because it was just a really unprofessional moment. How long have you been doing this, bro?
I'll leave that in because that was good for the video and no edits. But you broke Zoom. You glitched out. That was awesome.
Should we get a no edits shirt on should we get a no edits shirt on xflshow.com/merch?
I think we should. So this is a total tangent. When we shoot weddings, generally we'll shoot, me and my assistant will each have 2 cards a piece. We'll do like the first half of the day on the card, and then we'll do the second half. But it's just a ton of footage. You're trying to upload everything. You're trying to keep track of the cards, when you get done with the day. And so the goal is always the one card wedding, where like we each only have one card that and people I'm sure are like, you need to have backups and all that. No, I have like $100 SD cards. They're fine. They're really reliable. They're fine. But the one memory card wedding is the dream. And the no edit episode of the Markcast. Those are like equal in my mind of just small little victories every week.
Neck and neck.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a break right now, pay some bills. Coming back, we're gonna talk to Josh Davis from the XFL News Hub. There's a Guardians fan, a Dragons fan, and a Wildcats fan, all on the same call here. This is interesting.
Well, and I was going to have to offer my condolences for you and your Philadelphia Eagles. And just give you a hug for that. You guys, it hasn't been going this season to watch.
Not very good. Not very good. We played too poorly for the too much of the game the other day to really be able to come back. So, but that's been the telltale of the season so far. Too many injuries, and we can't play very well if we don't have guys in there that are consistently playing. So,
in hindsight, do you keep Nick Foles around?
No, I mean, we haven't needed a backup, and a healthy Carson Wentz is better than Nick Foles. Foles was playing with a limited playbook. And that'll last a few weeks, but it won't last a full season playing with a limited playbook. So,
okay. Well, the Bears.
Yep. He's only played 2 weeks. Let's see how he's doing in week 16, week 17.
That's funny.
We will definitely see.
So I
don't get me wrong. I love Foles.
I kind of want to talk, so we've been chatting online and stuff. How did you get involved in all this XFL stuff? I mean, I know you're a football guy, the Eagles, we talked about you having your podcast, the cease and desist with the Philadelphia Eagles, all that stuff. How'd you get involved in all the XFL stuff?
Man, I'll tell you the way that's the way I do things when it comes to my writing and all that, I kind of like the stuff that's on the fringe. It's real easy to write about the NFL. It's pretty easy to write about college football. Everybody's doing it. But when I started doing this at Pigskin, which is actually where I've been for the last few years, helping them get off the ground and all that, still with them. It's kind of not a hobby, but I'm not getting anything from it except for experience. So, but that's what I would write, because we had people to write about NFL. We had people to write about college. We started this in 2018 over there. The AAF was just about to start up. So, I started doing a whole lot of stuff on the AAF, and then that went down, and then the XFL came around, and then I write about the Major League Football because I'm friends with the CEO over there. So when it comes to stuff like this, especially guys the players that may not be in the NFL but have the talent to and get these opportunities, that's what I want to write about. I want to write about the stuff that might help somebody else. It's not going to help. It's not going to help Carson Wentz for me to write an article about him, giving my analysis on a game. It's not going to help him do that. But I might be able to do something for a guy. I'm just throwing his name out there because he just had a tryout, and I did do an interview with him the other day or a couple weeks ago. But a guy like Toby Johnson, the more times that people write about these guys that aren't in the league, maybe a guy will, if I've got the right guy on my timeline, if I've got the right follower, somebody might see, oh, he is working out. Oh, he is still doing stuff. Well, let's get this guy in here for a workout because he did do something, in the league. So, I might be able to help something out. I might be able to get more exposure for the A7FL. That's another league that I write for. I might be able to get a little bit more exposure from Major League Football. So, stuff like that, I might be able to get something going. And plus, to be completely honest, is I've got probably a better shot at writing full time for a spring league than I do the NFL or college. So, I'm devoting my time to that basically. I do write about other things. The articles I talked to you about last night that I pumped out 2 in an hour, that was on 2 college teams that I followed. So, but what I want to do is to bring awareness to these other leagues, and and maybe not a lot of people know about them. So it's a passion of mine. I like the fringe stuff. I grew up with the USFL. My aunt and uncle live in Jacksonville. So I got to go to a couple of Jacksonville Bulls games, and I liked that. And there hadn't been anything like that for a while. So, I kind of like the things that not everybody likes. So.
Good to hear. Good to hear. And I mean, in that fact of like, being a writer is always like polishing your craft. And there's definitely a chance, like if you do a well enough job, covering these other leagues and covering the college teams that you said you covered, time or two, there's also a chance that you could be called up and, called to write for someone else and do NFL coverage and stuff like that. So that's a good thing to do to keep those skills sharp.
So I saw there was some comments chatter today. The Sports Illustrated article came out with Danny and talking about the, expansion. This whole talk happens again, expanding the teams. Are we expanding the brand? What does that mean? What is your take on that? Are we getting more teams? Are we getting, pre-show things happening before the season? What do you want to see?
Well, expansion was always on the table. Even before the bankruptcy, they were talking to other cities about possible expansion or relocation. So the league was always doing it. Pollock has got so many things going on out there. And it's so great that he's still involved with the new owners. So, because he's bringing all that experience and that relationship with the cities that he already made last year with the new guys. So, it's a big thing. I think, personally, when it comes to what she's talking about with expansion, is expanding the audience, expanding the coverage, expanding the presence of the XFL. Because first season back from a bankruptcy like this, it's not going to be very easy to convince cities to bring in new teams. Especially like what was said on there, that there was a struggle with some of the cities to get fans and to produce. So, I think that expansion is on its way. They really love the cities like San Antonio and Birmingham. You could see a third Texas team eventually. I think it'll be second, third season before you really see expansion, more teams added. But the Birmingham public loved the Iron when they were there for the AAF, and big time football fans are there. And they've got no pros. They've got no big time pro league there. So I think that's San Antonio and Birmingham would be the first two cities that I would think about for an actual expansion. But when she's talking about it in this interview with SI, I really think she's meaning expanding the audience, expanding the visual of it, and expanding the brand, and not necessarily bringing on more teams. They've not fielded a season yet under that ownership. So, they were talking at one time a Hard Knocks type show, and that's again expanding the audience, trying to get more people in. So I think that's more what she was talking about.
Do you think relocation could help expand the audience? For example, we've discussed on the podcast before that MetLife isn't the greatest place to play, and maybe moving the Guardians out to like the Red Bulls arena, where the New York, New Jersey Red Bulls play would be an ideal thing. Do you think that maybe moving some teams around might expand the audience?
I think it could. It would put. I didn't like the idea of having XFL teams in NFL markets. I didn't like that primarily because people in those markets had already spent their money on NFL. You would have some people who couldn't afford to go to NFL games that could come to these games. But when you're in big markets like that, there's, just like you said, the Guardians played in MetLife. That was too big of a place. It holds over 80, and 12 to 15 were coming, and that's a lot of space there that's open. And so it's not that you need to worry about it looking like it's empty, but for the players and for the fans, it's kind of gaudy. And and surprisingly, it wasn't even one of the most expensive leases that they had. It was St. Louis was the most expensive lease. But I think that moving a team, if they did decide to do that, would help with some of the audience, depending on where they go. If they did move to where the MLS team plays, it wouldn't be much of a relocation. It would just be, a new stadium in the same area. But say they took Dallas and moved them to San Antonio, or they took LA and they moved them to Birmingham, something like that. Maybe, like they were talking about at one time, Tampa moving to Orlando. That's a little bit of a different story because that's hours away. That's a time, away. But these were things that were being talked about before the league filed for bankruptcy. So you could see some teams being relocated, but I'll tell you that they've kind of put that with the Tampa Bay that I just mentioned to Orlando. They kind of put that to sleep because one of the contracts, one of the leases that was they put in a motion to have assumed and assigned by the new ownership was for Raymond James Stadium. So they're looking to play there again in 2022. So, but like what was released yesterday, they're in talks with all the cities to bring the teams back because I think they want to do something different with the new ownership, see if they can do something on their own to get attendance up before they start moving people. Especially since they already have the relationships there.
I do think that the Seattle market is definitely the exception to the rule in terms of having an XFL team in a NFL market already.
Mm-hmm.
And we discussed before, LA's super saturated now. We have 2 NFL teams. We have USC, we have UCLA. And, we've discussed it before that maybe LA, you're talking about Birmingham. I've thrown out San Diego would be a much better alternative for the Wildcats, but it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yep.
You were talking about, Danny and expanding, and I was watching the video, like the Sports Illustrated, they had the article, and then they have this really nice video put together kind of talking about Danny and acquiring the league and expanding, and how they're really, in her mind, trying to expand that female demographic that she was saying that there's only, 30 or 35% female, and that most of them are either kind of born into it where, their family watch football or they're, they're dating or married somebody. And that's, Paul and I have joked on here the last couple of weeks, Dorothy, my wife, we've watched all the games this season now, kind of, because we're doing this podcast and watch more NFL. And that's the same example, right, of her being kind of, brought into that through me and not necessarily finding it herself. I mean, what do you think about that and ideas that Danny would have to reach to get women involved that maybe would find it on their own? Because that is a heavy task, right? I mean, this is something I think football has struggled with for 100 years,
Yeah, there's I don't remember the name, and it'd take me too long to look it up. But a WNBA player and her daughter just bought into a National Women's Soccer League. Yes, yeah, they just bought into a National Women's Soccer League team, and that's huge because I kind of think I've got to put it 2 and 2 together that I've got to think that what Danny has done with the XFL kind of sparked that. I'm not saying that Parker didn't want to do it beforehand, but I think that this is like, what? I'm going to do this, because of what I see over here, I'm going to do that. And I'm a father of daughters. So I always try to make sure that, these type of influences are there because there's not a whole lot. If you got some people, especially in the sports, they're athletes, they're players for these girls to look up to. Now, Danny is somebody that's in ownership. And that's a completely different animal. You can strive to be an athlete, and that's something that you can do on many different levels. But when you strive to try to be and try to do something, make a mark like Danny has, that's a whole different animal. So I think that this is really good for the girls and young women that are growing up right now and watching everything that's going on. And I think that it will spark an interest for more women to try to get into ownership because it is an old boys club. We know that. But she has shown that it can be done. And I think that that's big because that might be something that's in the back of the mind of some of these women who can make moves like that because they're out there. Maybe it's, exactly. And maybe it's not such a bad idea. I always make this joke, though. You talk about women that are in the sport, that kind of were born into it or married into it or whatever. I kind of make this joke all the time that there are 2 women that will be the most powerful women in the NFL, and that is Rooney Mara and her sister Kate Mara. If you don't know who they are outside of being actresses, their grandparents are the Rooneys and the Maras. They are in Giants and Steelers ownership right now, both. So it's like they'll be some of the most powerful women in the NFL, whether they want to be or not. Eventually, the teams will go to them. So you're going to have to watch out for that.
Yeah, it was just funny listening to the Danny thing, because she was saying, she does all this stuff and then she goes, and then I manage Dwayne. Like, she's the one that kind of manages, that everyone thinks about it like, okay, it's The Rock and then like the ex-wife thing. And she goes, no, I manage him. Like, I have all these other things I'm doing. It was just interesting in how she had done, weeks worth of research, and then she was the one that called up Dwayne. And I know it's been reported before, but it was just kind of cool to see her talk that scenario through, how she was the one that put the research together, spent the time, called Dwayne, and he said, okay, as opposed to like, it was some like The Rock's grand idea,
Yeah, that was, if anybody watched the Vice episode, they talked about how it came about, that she sent the text message to Dwayne, and Dwayne was like, usually she says, when you get a chance, can we talk? But this time she's like, we need to talk now. And, he got on and I'm in, and that's, I think that maybe my background and maybe the fact that I am a father of daughters, you won't see me really say anything about Danny being an ex-wife or Dwayne being an ex-husband in my articles. If I do, it's just for reference. And I almost always put Danny's name first, because she is the driving force. She was the idea behind this. It wasn't Jerry Cardinal from Redbird. It wasn't Dwayne that came up with this idea. It was her. She did all, like you said, all the research, all the market research and everything, and then contacted them and like, let's do this, So, it's a big thing for everybody, because these, it's not just it's not just them in this, because they have told them that they're trying to make a legal culture and trying to make sure that the players know that they're going to be taken care of, because that's the reason they're there as the players. And I've not really ever heard an owner that I really believed say that. But The Rock, he said in that interview too, had a league like this been around when he was playing, his career might have lasted a little bit longer, and that's what he wants to offer to other players. So, him and Danny being in there and doing that, getting this together and getting this going, I don't think it could have happened any better for the XFL. I really don't. Out of everybody that I thought about that could have been a potential owner, it couldn't have gotten any better than what they got now.
Completely agree.
Before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts on the Spring League. It's going to be kicking off next week. I know you're covering the Conquerors. We're not going to hold that against you here, as we are diehard Jousters fans. But I want to hear, what have you been hearing lately? I know you've been reaching out to people trying to get some more, information for the league. So walk us through that before you got to go today.
Well, we saw late yesterday or sometime during the afternoon that there were some coaches that didn't necessarily make the list that are there. Classic coaches, and I'm not talking about just guys who were big in the XFL, but we're talking about dudes that the names of from everything else. June Jones and Mike Singletary. Those guys are there helping out with different teams. We saw June Jones with the Conquerors shirt on yesterday, and I'm like, dude, we got Glanville and we got June. It's over. You might as well just put it down. We've got that championship, So, it's you're seeing now to shift gears a little bit. You're seeing now with the Quincy Flowers thing that Quinton Flowers that he's not been seen yet. There are going to be some players, and I can't really get into detail on this, but there are going to be some players who were listed as chosen that either changed their mind or something else came up. So as we get closer to games, you'll see some players get replaced. We've already seen a couple of releases where guys were chosen to kind of fill in holes. You're going to see some of that. Unfortunately, I know that I would have, even though he wasn't going to be on the Conquerors, I would have liked to have seen Flowers. I love watching him play. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Justin McMillan. I love that type of quarterback. So, there's going to be some players that were going to be listed and some that we're going to be excited about watching that aren't going to be there. And that's normal for a camp. I don't want anybody to think that that's anything that's outlandish, but that's normal for a camp like this. And I don't want to downgrade the Spring League, but that's what they are. They're a camp. So guys come here and they try to get exposed. And it was really good for the XFL last year because they were able to use some rules and test out some rules that the XFL ended up using. And a lot of players from the Spring League ended up playing in the XFL. And there are some that made it to the NFL. They're on rosters right now that played in previous Spring Leagues. and some of our guys are just now realizing that Japan has an American Football League over there. So getting a lot of exposure for these guys, and I love to see it. I should have some more information in the next couple of days about everything else that's going on there. And, I'll get it out as soon as I can. You'll definitely be able to find it on XFL News Hub. So, we'll get it as much and as quickly as possible. But that's really, all that we really have. We just know that games that are not going to be on FS1 will not be streamed anywhere. The league told me that in a message. So, we'll see exactly what happens when it comes to that. So, they may end up changing their mind. There's a lot of people calling for wanting these games streamed. So hopefully we'll at least maybe be able to see something on a delay. But I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm excited.
By God, anybody you talk to, get them streaming these the other games. The other, it's at least half of them or whatever. I said, point. You tweeted or someone. I said, point a camera at the field like they do in high school and just let it go and just put it on YouTube or whatever, and they can. There's no reason not to get those going. So, absolutely.
No, there's not.
All right, Josh Davis, XFL News Hub. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, that's good. We did that together. That was cute, Paul.
Simultaneous.
Paul and I just had a moment where we both put our hands up to the cameras and blacked it out so I would know to be able to edit Josh's interview segment in.
We were in sync that moment because we're just like, let's make the screen entirely blacked out so Reed is easily, because Reed does the video, I do the audio. Reed can easily find out where we took our break.
So that was great. Josh was great. I'm so glad he came on. I mean this. I've listened to the new sub since forever ago. I've listened to all of them since before the first XFL and all that. So it's cool. I follow Josh on Twitter. I read all the articles, and so it was cool to get to talk with him. And big fan here. I listened to Mark. We met Mark, his boss. We met Mark in DC at Walters. We've talked about that on the podcast. So.
Yes. One of the friends of the show, though, we're moving on to more XFL news, and this is kind of XFL, NFL related, I guess. One of the friends of the show, Moose Gibson, had an article on XFL Board about quarterbacks that could help the Cowboys.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the meme of the guy crying and the woman whispering sweet nothings in his ear. I made a tweet about it that said, she's asking if they're still them boys because, that's their little we them boys. And then, they end up flailing.
Yeah.
Season.
So I watched the game on Monday. I was so confused. I'm a new NFL guy. Dorothy and I are driving home from Spokane on Sunday. I've got the YouTube TV on my phone. We're watching Aaron Rodgers get destroyed by Brady. That was a crazy game. But I keep seeing, the Chiefs and the Bills are playing at 1:30 in the afternoon, our time. Because I'm like, certainly that must be. No, because the Monday Night Football game is the Cowboys and the Cardinals. And, I know Jay Noakes, he's a fan of the podcast. I know he's a huge Cowboys fan, but you can't tell me in a world where that is the more prestigious game of these two coming off of Dak Prescott's injury, the Cowboys, all these things, right?
Well, the Kansas City matchup was definitely more of like it had really good teams involved, but they're not going to switch up the time slots.
Well, I know. So because they had moved the one game. So anyway, I'm tweeting what's going on. Mike Mitchell says, "Hey, okay, they moved it." I tweeted at Jeff Manicelli. I said, what is going on?
Magliochetti. You're going to get the name right once.
I said, what is going on? Anyway, so everyone informed me, okay, it was because of COVID. The game was supposed to be on Thursday, and then they moved it to Monday. Anyway, so we have the stage set, Cowboys, Cardinals. I'm all in for my boy Jay Noakes. And man, they sucked. Did you watch any of this game? They was really bad.
I'm not a Cowboys fan. Of course, Casey at work is a huge Cowboys fan. She has an autographed Deion Sanders jersey, autographed Dak jersey. Like Casey, the reporter I normally always work with, is a huge Cowboys fan. She's like, I wanted to turn it off, but I couldn't. It's bad in Dallas.
Yeah, it was bad.
Of course,
Andy Dalton, sucked. Like
Andy Dalton is not a quarterback.
He's like trying to get the ball away. Yeah. So Moose came out. He's a fan. He's getting his Sharman Jones shirt. He came out, and I got a lot of thoughts on this article. So do you want to start, or we'll go into this?
Let's go with your thoughts. I mean, he named some names. Brandon Silvers. I know you have some thoughts on that one.
Man, I tweeted at him yesterday. The second I see this article, the first name, Brandon Silver. I go, Moose. Of course. Moose loves Brandon Silvers. Anytime I talk trash about him online, and we've got another Brandon Silver story later we'll talk about on the podcast. Loves Brandon Silvers. Can't get enough of him. I don't know. Moose loves him. I will say, though, my one complaint about this is, as good as Brandon Silvers is, he talked about Brandon Silvers' resolve. And, even though all the people were chanting, we want BJ, because Brandon Silvers came out, he wasn't that great. The crowd in Seattle at the Dragons wanted BJ Daniels. When they finally put in BJ Daniels, Brandon Silvers did have a super huge chip on his shoulder, sat down, got pouty. So, and I was there, like I saw it. So I'm just saying, as even keeled as Silvers is, I think he is a good guy. I think he's got a pretty level head. He did get a little butthurt, as I probably would too if I was the starting quarterback and I got benched. But he did get a little butthurt when they put in BJ Daniels. So I just want the record to show that.
Another one that Moose listed was Quinton Flowers. Of course, Josh Davis mentioned him. Quinton's an exciting player. That would be a great pickup potentially. That would probably be the pickup the Cowboys could do. I'm going to throw out another name after we're done talking about
this is huge. Well, so here's the whole deal too with Quinton. So Quinton, my boy, was supposed to be the Jousters QB. And so this goes back. So when that meme came out about the Cowboys and the guy crying and the woman consoling him, I saw Quinton Flowers post on there. He goes, "Hey, I'm a free agent right now if you need me," right? As like on Twitter, and it did his thing. And I thought, well, that's really weird because he's supposed to be in San Antonio right now getting ready for the spring league. And I don't know what the cost is to pay to play in the spring league. What is it cost? What do you think it costs? $1,000?
Maybe $2,500. Yeah, somewhere around there.
So I'm like, well, that's really weird that, if you're paying to be in this thing, I mean, obviously the NFL would be a way bigger thing, but I just thought it was weird that he used the words, I'm a free agent here.
Well, I think anybody in the spring league is technically a free agent.
But then he didn't show up in San Antonio. So like he wasn't even in because that's what I'm saying. So he was supposed to be our QB with the Jousters. We're all in. I think the hashtag is a gentleman's duel. I love that. And but Quinton Flowers I think he's out of the spring league. It's crazy. Just like that.
Maybe, just maybe, he's getting a backup job somewhere. Maybe potentially.
Well, all I know is I thought when they announced Quinton Flowers for the spring league, I thought here's a guy that really pushed. He was on the Vipers. We talked about this last week on the podcast that he didn't get the playing time. They kept putting him as running back. They had Taylor Cornelius and they had Aaron Murray. They wouldn't give him the time. He asked for his release, got moved around, ended up staying in Tampa. Maybe he is a little something. I don't know. I thought
going on. Maybe something's going on.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was sometimes it's the facility or sometimes it's the team you're on, and then sometimes it's the person you are. And maybe it was a little bit more of the person you are than the team you're on. I don't know. I'm just saying, but yeah, he's got Quinton on here. Huge explosive. The Spring League news report, forgive me for their Twitter handle, they posted the highlights of all the Jousters offense. I thought the league put it out. It was so well put together. I thought the league put it out, but it was all Quinton Flowers and running TDs and all this stuff. I retweeted it. I thought, man, that's my team. So well put together. I literally thought the Spring League had put that out, but now it might all be for naught if Quinton Flowers isn't with us. So I guess we'll find out soon because they're practicing right now. So
potentially, and another couple quarterbacks that were mentioned here. Luis Perez from the Guardians, originally from the Wildcats. I know he was the first pick ever for the XFL Wildcats. I don't know if he's got the stats to back up a potential spot in Dallas. 3 touchdown passes in 3 games. I don't know if that's, you get more than 1 touchdown in an XFL game, you might be able to get a call as a backup, but I don't know if he's going to get a call. And of course, Josh Johnson for the Wildcats. He's 34, but he threw 11 touchdowns in 5 XFL games. Again, the stats are better in Josh Johnson's favor. I don't know if Moose is more leaning toward the Guardians in this sense, maybe a little bit of bias, but.
Well, they thought that if the league had come, if it wouldn't ended, everyone was on PJ Walker. Josh Johnson got the slow start. They thought that would have been neck and neck for the MVP of the league because Josh was just picking up. They just had that huge game against the Vipers. where they won, but he was like 35-39. It was some crazy score, but that was when he was really coming alive. And then it was that next week that everything stopped. So, Johnson was on the rise. PJ Walker was up there, but yeah, so who knows? But I think Josh Johnson, but Brandon Silvers is not going to the Cowboys. So.
No, I'm going to throw out a couple more names.
Okay.
Is Sharman Jones doing anything?
Sharman Jones is making $45. Well, no, it's 30% of whatever $45 is on bookcameo.com. That's what Sharman Jones is doing.
Maybe. I'm going to throw out a name that's gonna. We talked about kneeling earlier. I'm going to throw out a name. Colin Kaepernick.
He's so. How old is he now?
Colin Kaepernick. Let's look. That's a good question.
Because it's been like 6 years now, right? How long are we going to talk about?
He's 32 years old.
Oh, okay.
He's 32 years old. He could probably still go for another 3 years. Why don't they call Colin Kaepernick?
Well, and this is also the crazy thing too, because you just had the Dolphins do the switch up, right? They pulled Fitzpatrick. They're putting
Tua in. That's the decision they needed to make. Yes,
but they're okay. I thought Fitzpatrick was doing all right.
No, Tua's the future. You have a better shot of winning with Tua than not. Fitz magic is very sporadic. I've watched Fitzpatrick. If he was steady, I feel like he would have stayed. It was at Buffalo or New York. The Jets are a mess of an organization right now. But Fitz magic is very sporadic. It doesn't come all the time. I think you drafted Tua. You have to go with Tua at this point. The Dolphins, who knows if they can turn it around? The Bills are going to. I'm going to break this secret to everybody right now. The Bills are going to win the AFC East. They are going to win the AFC East. The Patriots' time at the top of the division is over. The Bills are going to win the division. Josh Allen isn't going to be the MVP. He's going to be close. Russell Wilson is hands down right now the MVP of the league. But the Bills are going to win the division. So why not get 2 of those reps and get him ready to go for
like next year or
the future.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting. With the Cowboys, I like all this. I like all this fluidity. I like sometimes we have Monday night games. We had a Tuesday night football game. We're changing quarterbacks midseason. I like all this. I'm an XFL guy, NFL second, but I'm liking all this different stuff going on. It keeps it fresh.
I love it. I think there was only one of the weeks we only had Wednesday that was football free. And it was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
More of that.
Yeah.
Well, there's Friday too, but we have Thursday nights.
Friday you're out clubbing or doing whatever you're doing.
Or if you're in Texas, you're out watching high school football because they're open again. They're probably doing high school football. So I'm saying Jerry should call Colin Kaepernick. Why not? At this point,
what do you got to lose?
What do you have to lose, Jerry? You're already 1-18, looking like it's going to be a long season. Throw Colin out there for a few games.
Did you see the guy punch the TV? The Cowboys fan? And
did you see what happened? He took his gun out and shot it afterward. Why are you so mad?
That was wild. That was great. And then Jeff was saying, we shouldn't, don't post these. You're giving people too much fame. Don't propagate this. Don't say this is okay to do.
Oh, it's hilarious. I love every bit of it.
I don't often disagree with Jeff Maniacelli, but
Magliacetti. You're going to get this right.
But I will disagree with this. I think it's always funny to watch some dumb guy punch a TV and get mad about losing the football game.
And then shooting it with your gun, bro. I know it's Texas, but come on.
That was great. All right.
This is from Texas. That's how I talk. Little side joke.
We did the St. Louis. I'm going through here. We got spring league stuff a little bit. I just thought it was cool. They were sending out the schedules of everything. This was kind of cool. They were talking getting breakfast delivered to the room, having rules meetings. I just thought it was fun. I think it'd be cool to imagine you were there. It's like you're at a convention. You're going through, you're getting lunch, breakfast delivered, you're getting lunch, all this sorts of stuff. Seems cool. There's a ton of social media coming about the Spring League. I did email them to try to get them on the podcast. So we're going to see. Someone from the Spring League. I said I issued a formal request for the podcast. Just spoiler alert. So we'll see.
I will tell you this. I am excited for the Alphas. One of their players, Yoshihito Omi. This is incredible. From Ritsumeikan University in Japan.
Okay.
I love it. I love seeing Japanese players in football leagues. This is great. Like Josh Davis talked about it earlier, that Japan has a football league, and the more that football becomes a worldwide sport, the better off we're going to be. Let's make it an Olympic sport. Let's give a World Cup of football. Let's all do all that.
I want to have this discussion with you, and this is off the cuff because I had this discussion with Dorothy at dinner last night. I know you're a baseball guy. Football is the best sport, right? I want you to rank, and I'm not saying I want you. I'm genuinely asking you right now. I'm genuinely asking football, basketball, and soccer. Please rank the four and give your thoughts.
Okay, this is where I stand. Football is the best overall sport to watch live or on TV. It's hard to watch other sports on TV. Baseball is a hard watch on TV. Like, I will say that if you go to a baseball game, I think the environment at a baseball game is much better than the environment at a football game being live.
You take a nap, you get caught up on your rest. It's great.
You can just sit there and have a conversation while this is going on. That's why it's called America's pastime. So baseball is better to watch live. But if you're talking about a TV sport with a live element that you can go and enjoy either one, football is the top dog, of course, obviously. Soccer's better. Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, it's a tough conversation. We were talking about this last night.
Soccer's good in both situations too. I mean, there's a lot of people that watch soccer on TV and the live element. I mean, you and I went to a Sounders game. You went to the Sounders MLS Cup. Like it was a fun environment. I guess, and there's hockey. I mean, hockey's pretty unwatchable on TV. It is. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of watching hockey on TV. I like watching it live. And as far as basketball goes,
basketball is so bad.
Basketball is way more TV sport, more of a TV sport than a live sport.
It's just, I just told Dorothy, I say, they run back and forth a million times and it's always within like 2 points at the end.
No, it's not always within 2 points. There have been times where, when you're playing the Knicks, you're going to be in more than 2 points.
It's either a blowout or it's like 2 points. Like there's no, they almost got it, like football, they're just one touchdown away. It's either 104 to 105 or it's like 101 to 78.
Cool.
Was that something good happen?
Yeah. So we've discussed maybe the tattoo stuff, and maybe I don't even talk about it here on the XFL Markcast. Something cool happened with the tattoo thing. So
Paul's getting a tattoo.
Paul's getting some new ink done. Apparently they might be able to get me in a Studio City shop.
That's good.
So.
Just to follow up with this Sports Illustrated thing, I know we talked with Josh about it. Mm-hmm. I will tell anybody in the world, go to the Sports Illustrated, watch this Danny Garcia. It's a 6-minute video. It's called The Unrelenting Danny Garcia. I think it's like a series they do with a bunch of them. If you want to get really jazzed about the passion behind the people that are owning the XFL, 100%, I knew enough about Danny, kind of reading stuff and, whatever she's been doing. It's a really cool piece. I would really advise it. This is when she was, and then the article, she's talking about expanding and growing, the female viewership, growing viewership in general, expanding the teams, the cities, and just talking about how she is still body lifting as of last year. Like she was competing professionally to body build, and then was buying the XFL like at the same time. I mean, this is crazy. This woman, she's got her fingerprints in all, like anything that you like about The Rock, she's got her fingerprints in all that stuff, the tequila, the Under Armour, the XFL, the movie stuff, the shows, like all. It's really, really, I just would give anybody, I couldn't give more praise to this woman, this person, and this article and this video. I really thought it was well done. So I just wanted to say that.
Speaking of going back to the Spring League, we kind of glossed over there. There's a total of 37 former XFL players in the Spring League. Did you see that?
I did. And that was the other
36 now because we're taking down Quinton Flowers.
Yes. The other news for the next 4 weeks, we have officially changed our Twitter name, not the handle XFL Mark, but the Twitter name to the XFL plus TSL Markcast podcast, showing our support for the Spring League.
We'll be covering both as much as we can because, of course, we did discuss that with Josh Davis. They're not streaming many of the games online. It's unfortunate.
Well, there'll be 7 games on FS1. I've got them all. I'll watch all of them. There's one that I have an event for. I've got everything else in the calendar. But yeah, I mean, it's good. The coaches, it's crazy. You got June Jones getting involved. You've got Jerry, what's his name?
Jerry Glanville.
I mean, you have a lot of big names in that. So they're getting all that stuff in right now. They're practicing. They're at the San Antonio, the Alamo Dome. And it's cool. I've been watching all the stuff come out on Twitter. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. So big time for the Spring League. They kick off on Tuesday. I posted our whole rundown of all the team names on Facebook and us talking about the Generals and the Conquerors and the Jousters and all that stuff. So lots of good laughs to be had there.
Definitely. And speaking of laughs, I think we should close with this. You found out that someone might have been on the next season of The Bachelorette.
Oh yeah, well, two things. First is to finish at the Spring League. So they're leaking all the jerseys. We're seeing like, okay, so and so has a helmet. You know, we're seeing this stuff. We're seeing like the Aviators helmet. We're seeing some of the practice jerseys and the stuff. So this Hayden and Carson at H2K Football, they're doing a lot of like breaking news for the Spring League. So they're posting a lot of this stuff. And it's showing the first look at the Jousters, the Jousters practice jersey. And it's this guy and he's standing. Do you have this up? Can you see this?
I don't, you didn't put this in, you didn't.
It is. It's all in there. It's all in there. And
which tweet?
It's H2K football status 131866. Here are the TSL Jousters practice jerseys. I'm going to put this photo up, but it's this guy and he's like, and so I commented, I said, eyes open, looks good though. And I retweeted that. I said, not the best looking team in the world in terms of like having a photo taken, but it's like, it's a really ugly purple. And then it's like a really ugly beige. I'm all for it. I want it. I want a copy of one. I want to wear it on the podcast. I want my Jousters practice jersey from the TSL.
Yikes.
I think that's, yeah. And then we have our breaking news with the XFL on The Bachelor. I think that's it. Otherwise, you want to get into that?
I don't watch The Bachelorette, and I get chastised for that from Nydia. She says you should watch it. It's a train wreck. That's something you two could bond over. Brandon Silvers is in The Bachelorette. Is that what we're saying? So
Dorothy and I were watching it last night. They're all Bachelorette's weird this year. They were going to start it, and then COVID happened. Like they literally shut it down like the first day they were going to do it. So now it's months later. They're all quarantined in this resort, and I'm going to put the photo up here too. There's this guy. His name is Chasen Nick. First off, what kind of name is that?
Did they mix up his names in the birth certificate? Like printed the last name first and the first name last?
Yeah. It should be Nick Chasen. That's the name.
Did his mom name him like I was chasing Nick when I was a kid and I met his dad? Is that what happened? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I carrying the podcast right now with my humor?
That was a good joke. Anyway, so it says here he is from Walnut Creek, California.
Bay Area. Shout out Bay Area.
And this article is from Marie Claire. It's just a little blurb. Nick is from Walnut Creek, California, and he apparently is a tech consultant. Don't you know that if you're Marie Claire and you write in an article? He was part of the recasting, but this dude looks, I'm going to put a side-by-side up. This guy could be Brandon Silvers' brother, cousin. It could be Brandon Silvers.
I mean, it could be Brandon Silvers. The name like Chasen Nick. That's a fake name.
That's a fake name, but I tweeted at Silvers and I did the Bachelorette hashtag, and it got a ton of views because all these women are looking at like the hashtag Bachelorette ABC or whatever. But this is Brandon Silvers in another life, and I'm for it. So,
yeah, are you rooting for Chasen Nick? Is that your official pick on the Bachelorette this year?
He's all right. It's kind of hard because I think that they're gonna. So this Bachelorette, I believe in the quarantine from when they started filming to now, was talking with one of the people. So I think she is going to leave, and then we are going to get a new Bachelorette. So it's very hard to get invested right now because you're kind of just waiting for like the shoe to drop.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So it's interesting. The other thing too, before we go, overall or overwhelming positive response for our Cole Boozer interview from all.
Yeah, shout outs to Cole. Shout outs to Cole. Great guy. Love to have him back sometime. Hope all goes well. Hopefully, and I don't wish injury on anybody, but it's an inevitability, and hopefully he'll get a call from an NFL team, just like Colin Kaepernick should get a call from the Dallas Cowboys.
But yeah, Van the Man specifically texted me. He said Cole Boozer needs to be on all the episodes.
Well, let's try to get him on once a month. I'd love to have him on as somebody who's played the game at higher levels. Like I think I stopped in high school, so as someone who's played the game at much higher levels, it would be great to have him come down and break down some stuff sometime. I'd love to have him on once a month at least. Okay.
And this is my final segue. Van also said, "Why is there wrestling talk on my XFL podcast?" So, do we have any wrestling talk before we go?
This is already a supersized episode. We've got about an hour and a half on this episode.
Just throw out there any nuggets, anything before.
I don't have any comments about what's going on in wrestling right now.
Randy Orton is going to face Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell.
Again, for the 15th time.
Yeah. Roman Reigns. That was the one thing I wanted to ask you, and then we'll be done, and then we can go. Alexa Bliss and The Fiend.
We saw it coming a mile away, didn't we?
Are we in on that? Are they dating or something? Is that what?
No, because the guy that plays Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, is married to JoJo, the ring announcer, the girl ring announcer.
Okay.
Remember, Bray was married, and we don't need to spill his personal details, but we're going to do it anyway. Bray was married and then met JoJo, and something was happening behind Bray's wife. Then they got a divorce. And anyway, long story short, no, they're not dating.
Okay,
I think Alexa's still single for all I know.
It just seems like a weird pairing. It just seems like a weird pairing that they put her with the Fiend, and then he took out all of Retribution.
So, So Retribution's done again. It's probably the third time we've said that Retribution is over. They should just stop.
Also, I wanted to get your take on this. Calling the Hurt Business THB. That's what they're calling them now. Because that's the cool thing.
There's no money here.
No, there's no money in the Hurt Business.
None.
They are hurting for business.
They're hurting for money. They're hurting the business by being there.
Man, I think we killed it today.
I think we had a good episode. A lot of good topics. A lot of good tangents, like the Jim Thomas discussion.
I hate Jim Thomas. F that.
Yeah, you hate Jim Thomas now too.
I'm gonna flag him on Twitter. I'll blow him up. Good.
Blow him up.
Yeah, ratethispodcast.com. We appreciate all the reviews. We've got all those masks coming out. Get your free mask. XFLshow.com/merch. Get the Sharman Jones.
Get the Sharman Jones shirt until we get a cease and desist.
We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks for listening, guys. Later.